That's all right.
Perfect. Perfect. It's definitely a little bit to get used to working from home at the moment with all the home Wi-Fi and popping my
Oh,
laptop
that's all right.
on
I've been
like
I've been
three different
working from
boxes,
home
so it's not the
since
right height. But
2015.
oh, you're a veteran then.
Oh yeah, that's why when all the COVID stuff came around and they said, "Oh, you got to work at home," I went, "I've been doing that. It's a walk in the park." So
Easy.
yeah,
Absolutely. Awesome. So, tonight's webinar, just for everyone, we'll do a quick introduction. So I'm just here pretty much, ePocket are just running it as we run
yep,
our fortnightly webinars. For those that haven't heard of ePocket, we're a crypto exchange and a digital wallet. So our exchange pretty much just has API connectivity to five of the largest global exchanges. So that just means that we have the combined liquidity of all five of these exchanges in a single marketplace. So this means that any transactions or any trades are happened instantaneously because it's all within our single ecosystem. We recently got nominated as a FinTech Awards finalist in the FinTech Australia Awards, which was super exciting. And it was a good justification of sort of how hard our development team has been working, especially over the last 12 months. Joining us tonight is Andy. So Andy
hello. Sorry, I just had
is
to pick
the
something up.
founder and marketing managing director. Yeah, that's okay. At Andica. So Andica is a Queensland-based licensed security and derivatives dealer. So Andy, you've been a client with ePocket since, is it 2018? Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, when I was invited to participate in an initial coin offering with the token, the Pocket token,
Mm.
and I knew about cryptos and stuff, but I was like, yeah, whatever. And I wish I was into it a little bit earlier than that, of course. But anyway, we're onto it now. And yeah, I just had a little bit of money, put it aside, thought why not, and bought some of the e-pocket e-tokens. So that got me started in 2018.
Yeah, okay. So you so that was so you was 2018 the first year that you heard about crypto, or what sort of
Oh
like
no,
introduced you
I'd
to it?
known
Was it the
about
initial coin offering, or had you heard about it?
no, I'd known about Bitcoin and other ones, probably Ethereum too, but like most people, I suspect I was just had my doubts, had other things like, I'm a stockbroker essentially. So I'm trading, listed shares and options, got better things to do, better things to, trade that I know about, and just complete and utter ignorance on my part. And that, and just didn't bother getting involved into it. But I then, as I mentioned, got approached that ePocket in 2018 was doing an initial coin offering for their token. So I, from memory, bought like $1,000 worth. I thought, oh, why not? The only way to learn about these things is to actually go in and dip the toe in the water. And I got to say, since then, it's been
Yeah.
quite a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the first cryptocurrency that you ever bought?
Well, the first one was your tokens. They were,
Yeah.
from memory, 10 cents US, so 14 Aussie. And the good thing about it was I'd just forgotten about it for like 2 and a bit years, but I did it in my super fund. And because I had it in my super fund, I had my auditor always on my back going, oh, you remember you made this token purchase? So I went, yeah, well, we need to get a current valuation. And I kept putting him off. And then second year around, he said, no, look, the auditor, so the auditor, not the accountant who does the initial book, said, look, we've got to get one. So that got me motivated in about early March of this year to get in touch with ePocket and go, hey, look, I know I've got these tokens. What are they worth? Where are they? Anyway, fortunately, ePocket was really good. Papa was really great. He spent time with us to say, look, you've got this, and that. And then, well, to my surprise, I found out those tokens I bought for like 10 cents US are now worth about 75 cents US. So my 1,400 Aussie is now worth over 10 grand Aussie. So that's a pleasant surprise, and that then also reinforced the hodler or the hold approach. I mean, that was somebody like me putting just a little sum away, and in 2 years just coming back to it going, wow, look at that. So since then I've dived into the markets. I've traded both Bitcoin and Ethereum since March. So I'm fairly new to it. Still learning.
Yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to answer Brian's question there.
Okay.
Now, Brian, sometimes it's like the connection. I might just get Andy, would you be able to click the little turn microphone off button quickly?
On the bottom?
To turn that off and on again. Yeah, if you could turn it off for a second and then turn it back on.
It auto.
And then just try that again. Sometimes that. So it should be like a little microphone symbol.
It auto comes back on when I turn it off.
Down
Weird.
The bottom. Oh, okay. Brian, is that any better? Could you hear Andy in that little patch there? No.
It's back on now.
Brian, would you be able to sometimes it's the connectivity. Brian, would you be able to jump out of the room and then click back into the link on the email? Sometimes it's just sometimes it's like the connectivity of the Wi-Fi. It might not be strong enough. But yeah, okay. So you jumped in on ePocket in 2018. So how did you first hear about ePocket?
It was a former trading colleague of mine, because I've been in stockbroking since 1995. Had made the move. It would be Igor, who works for you guys. He used to be over at E-Trade, and he got in touch with me and said, you know, this is in 2018. We're doing this coin offering. Did you want to look at it and participate? So that's how I heard about you guys from that point there. And I've got to say, since, you know, I've obviously started to trade on your platform, and you know, I get to see you're on the tube as well, and I believe the company's up for a potential nomination in a emerging crypto or fintech category as well. So obviously you're doing the right things there. You're getting people's attention.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this year especially, like with the new platform launch, we clearly just, you know, we want to make it a tool that's easily accessible for everyone and very usable, even from people that are trading professionally like yourself, to like the people that have absolutely no idea about crypto and are just learning about it to, you know, in their first sort of steps in the journey. So yeah, we've really been sort of pushing that a little bit a bit harder. And I think the YouTube is just at the moment just to keep people educated and keep everything transparent. Like we, you know, want to let all of our potential customers and current customers know exactly what's going on at all times and where we're at as a company. So you mentioned Puppy. What has sort of your experience been with ePocket throughout the years, like between that 2018 and sort of March when you jumped back into it?
Well, it's probably March really of this year, because obviously when I bought the tokens in very early 2018, there was a period for 2 years where I just didn't have any communication or any need to sort of do anything with ePocket. It was just one of those things I just set and forget, and literally did. And if it wasn't for the fact that I had a pesky super fund order to say, hey, get this in, I probably still would be in the same boat. So something was meant to be. But since March, since I've been trading, it's been great. No dramas. It's a very easy app to use. I tend to trade on the Windows platform, not on the actual app on my mobile, even though I have done it. I'm just someone who's used to having everything in front of me on my Windows screen, and I've found it to be very, very easy to navigate and trade. It's no issues whatsoever. I'm sort of used to these screens because it's very similar to sort of the stock market screen I would use anyway for, you know, the buying and selling of, you know, listed shares for clients. So, you know, there's a bid and offer. it just happens to be Bitcoin or happens to be Ethereum. And of course, because it's all priced in US dollars, you just got to remember, that's the currency mark you're using, unless you're using, stable coins to trade or something. So I was able to gel onto it pretty quick and get there. And I know I've got a few of my clients who have just started to probably come on board themselves under their own interest. And I say to them, if you get stuck on anything, just give us a call and I can talk you through, because I know the platform fairly well now and how to navigate it and that sort of stuff. And the app, as I have used it, and it's very, very clever there in terms of how smooth that runs as well. So, you're constantly striving and you're constantly, making things better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know that's that's something that has always remained a value since Tapper sort of started ePocket in, I think, 2015 was when it was first sort of founded, and then it sort of became an actual business in 2017, 2018. But yeah, no, that's always been a massive value, is to make sure that we're sort of keeping ahead of technological advances. We actually are in the process of introducing remittance, so like international, just fiat to fiat transfer between different currencies. So that'll be really exciting, because a lot of our users are actually like international, or they have families internationally. So that'll be really good. Just always striving to make that money management accessible to anyone, no matter what your education is, what your location is. There's no discrimination. It's available to all, pretty much. Yeah. So, Andy, what have been the oh, sorry, I'm just going to skip through that. What have been the highs and lows of your crypto experience so far?
Oh, well,
even outside of ePocket.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I've had two highs with the sort of cryptos. First one was obviously the initial coin offering that ePocket issued in 2018, and then to find out 2 years or so later that it's worth a lot more. And I still got them, of course. I've also was relatively fortunate that I ran the Ethereum train quite well from March just up to those highs it had before it lost its lollies and fell back. The lows would be, I haven't been as lucky on the Bitcoin front, but that's okay, because I took the view with Bitcoin that was something I'm prepared to hold. I'm going to be a hodler, and I've been buying the dip over the last couple of weeks anyway, just going in progressively, picking up a bit more here and there. So that's fine. I mean, you can't always pick, the points, and if anything, it just reminds me, and this is what I say to some clients, don't go in this space if volatility is an issue, if you can't handle the swings, because the volatility in crypto is just a normal day in the office. This is just normal, sort of movements. And I've also got a derivative background, meaning, trade options, so calls and puts, and they obviously can move around a lot as well. And I think the recent, we'll probably come to this a bit later on in the talk, but that's probably been the major sort of experiences of the highs and lows that I've had in a very short time. The thing that got me also was I was really thinking about getting into Bitcoin back in December of just before the end of the year, when I was around 20,000 US. And I kept saying, I've got to get into this, but I just got slack. I just didn't bother. And of course, and then just ran all the way up to like 63,000 US. So had I been in there at 20, these current prices, you'd still be well and truly in front. But that's okay, because everything's a learning experience. And I think when Tesla first got into Bitcoin, for me, that made this year one. Sure, it's been going for 12 years, but to me, this is like year one when it started to become serious. It's starting to be held as a treasury asset with a lot of companies, and institutional interest is growing with it. And you can just see how the interest has just exploded. I mean, particularly on the other coins like the Ethereum network and Cardano and a few of the others, just, in the NFT spaces and the DeFi space. The stuff I've been reading was what we're seeing today, they wouldn't have dreamt of 2 or 3 years ago. So the growth rate is just phenomenal here. It really is like web version 3, I guess, is one way to look at it. And I remember I was there when the tech boom was happening in the late 90s, hit 2000, and then when it popped, and it was not a nice time. Anything that had the .com in its name just virtually got blown up. But even the big stocks of the time, which was, Amazon and all that, they got hammered as well. But look at them today, because they had the strength to able to power through, which to me is the reminder that there's a lot of cryptos out there. I think there's 9,000. I don't know. Every day someone creates a new one. But for me, the stables are like Bitcoin and Ethereum. To me, that's your yin and yang. To me, everything else around it is garbage in that sense. Sure, there are alternatives to Ethereum and what they're doing in the DeFi space. And I'm sorry if people listening in, this is going a bit quick. It's the sort of things you'll learn, because you've got to do your own sort of research and spend a bit of time actually either reading up about it, or at least getting onto YouTube and watching some of the videos that are there. There's some pretty good presenters on YouTube that actually come across and talk some, sense in the space. But I'm still learning in that space as well. Like MicroStrategy's Michael Salek, he goes on to say you've got to do like 100+ hours study to even scratch the surface. And, he's got several $1 billion invested in Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff. So there's still a lot to happen, I think. And it's great that ePocket is an Aussie company. You're based in Melbourne. So you're in a very big field that's dominated by a lot of big American exchanges. You've got Coinbase that just recently floated on the NASDAQ, and I think Kraken's going to come up there too. And there's a bunch of others that are out there. So that's impressive, because I think we all like to help the local, or, we like to be patriotic in that sense. It's how Australians typically are. And not only that, I would find it very difficult to send an email to Papa's equivalent over at Coinbase to say I need help. He replies back within an hour. I think Coinbase would say, mate, whatever. You'd be lucky to get some email inside a week and have your problem fixed inside 3 weeks, if you know what I mean. So you still got that sort of personal touch there as well. So that's a big plus. And we're doing things like this with you, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's someone at Coinbase doing these sort of things. If they are, they're probably just talking to other talking heads to keep talking up the various currencies. Saying, Dogecoin to the moon. Of course, it's going to keep going.
Promote this, promote that. Yeah.
It's got no real use.
Yeah.
The guys who made it inside 2 hours and considered nothing. It was always, pardon my language, a piss take, and yet. Hey, it gets a listing now on Coinbase, and I think it went from 30 cents US to 42 US cents inside 2 days. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone on the chat's going, "Doge your shitcoin." Yeah, you're right, Toby.
No, who uses? Yeah. Well, I know, Toby. For me, I'll see some of those coins and I'm just like, I just think it sounds funny, or I'll think, it's like, oh, that sounds like a meme, like cool, and I'll just like buy $50 worth of it. I know it's not going to go anywhere, but it's just, I don't know, it's just that's how you're driven into it. Like I don't even research about what their market cap is or anything like that, how many are available. I'm like, oh, that sounds funny. No, I'm just going to chuck in $20. If it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. Yeah, I think that's definitely how they sort of sell themselves, those little altcoins. I won't say the other name for them because I'm representing ePocket, but
that's all right.
But yeah, no, it's definitely yeah, I mean, I have the customer service phone with me right here, so it's by my side all the time, even in lockdown.
I like Toby's line now. Everyone can own one Doge, but not everyone can own one Bitcoin. That's spot on.
Yeah. Absolutely. I saw someone today found their login details for their Bitcoins. They had 10 Bitcoin, which they bought in, I think, 2011.
Oh, lovely.
And they just found their login details today. It's now, I was like, oh, I'm so jealous.
They've got 391,000 US. That's all right.
Yeah, it would be.
I wonder how that guy feels though who bought the pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin or whatever that story was. Very early in the days.
I know.
Hope it was a nice pizza.
And the one in Europe who I think I know there was one in the UK as well when when it just did its massive bull run at the start of the year, and he realized that he'd thrown his cold storage out and it was in the tip somewhere. And he literally offered, there was like $40 million worth, or 40 million pound on this cold storage, and he literally offered the council like $2 million or something just to help them dig it up. I was like, that is desperation.
Did they ever accept?
The exact same thing. I'm not sure. I never heard any other news about it, so I'm not really sure what happened there. But I mean, yeah, you'd be going on a full search and rescue for that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, just on that, that's another thing that's good about, the
Yeah,
e-pocket, because not only are you an exchange, you're also a wallet as well. And so,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
buy
so
your Bitcoin or your Ethereum or your Ripple, and you can keep it on your e-pocket account in the wallet that's attached to it. And that saves any of that sort of mucking around as well, because you've got some pretty
yeah,
good security on that, on your, your app. And as long as people are smart and don't blab they've got the stuff and have dumb passwords. But the second phase authentication's the gold bit, because if you've got that in place, it's uncrackable from that point of view. So that's also an encouraging thing.
yeah,
Otherwise, cold storage is a real way of keeping it. But as you were alluding to there, Kate, if you lose the cold storage device, or you forget the password for it, or something happens, or worse, you've got the seed
you're in
words that you
trouble.
can also have for it in case, it fails, because it is a piece of hardware. Whereas, you guys constantly make sure what you've got's working and all that sort of stuff. So that's good to know there as well. So that's another tick for ePocket.
Yeah, yeah, so most of the way it functions, so instead of having like a public and a private key, which you normally need
Yeah.
for your crypto holdings, just for those of you that are sitting in tonight that don't really understand it. So you've got your public key, which is kind of like a bank account number, I guess, and then your private key is kind of like your password for the account. So yeah, ePocket, the way it functions is it holds on to the private key on your behalf. And then all you need to do is have a password and your two-factor authentication linked up to your mobile device. That way, if you forget that, we can reset the 2FA manually from our end if you lose your mobile device or whatever. And you can always reset your password as long as you have that 2FA code. So yeah, it's um, a bit of a way to make sure that it's safe in one place and that no one can get to it, but you can still get to it if you need to as well. Yeah. So, Andy, you said that you started trading in what 1995 was it?
Oh, yeah, that's trading, listed shares on the ASX. Yeah, that's going back a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was like that. I was like, born a year before that.
Okay, there you go.
So you've been trading for my whole
I've been
lifetime.
trading for a while.
So,
Yeah.
so you start trading in 995. Yeah, and so how did you get into trading in the beginning?
Oh, well, in the beginning, just really quick, I've got 2 degrees. My first degree is an applied science degree in geology. I was going to be a rock doctor and go and crack rocks for a living. But when I graduated in the very early 90s, there was no iron ore boom like we've seen recently, or over the last, 10 or so years. So there was just no jobs for GAs. So I then had an opportunity, because I'm on the Gold Coast. I did my second degree, which was in commerce, and I did that at Bond. And at the time, Bond Uni were like screaming for, graduates. And what you had to pay per subject at Bond back then was the same as paying HECS. And I managed to get rid of all the introduction subjects and all that sort of nonsense that are typically there in a degree, and ended up just having to do 12 units. So I did 6 in finance and 6 in marketing. And, after another 2 years, I walked out with another degree, and this time it was a Bachelor of Commerce. And I'd always liked the market. My late father was also a geologist, so I guess that's why I sort of started off in the same steps. And he always used to trade gold stocks and specky stocks on the market. And I was actually trading derivatives, meaning options on shares. And I remember I was trading BHP options a lot, and Western Mining that was listed then, and Mount Isa Mines, and a whole bunch of other stocks that were there. And I actually used to punt my tuition money or my future money on that and make enough money to go, hey, I've just paid for 2 more subjects at home. Cool. And that was a good way of doing it, and all that sort of stuff. And then I got a job as what they call a deskie, with ANZ in basically late 1995, but did a few years with them. And then I got a good job in Sydney with JB Ware, and then got the transfer back to the Gold Coast, 5 years with them. Then I went over to another firm called All Minute, did a whole bunch of time with them as well. And I and all these firms were going through changes because they were traditional stockbrokers, and they started going to asset management models, meaning they wanted to get away from just brokerage. And I was always someone who was happy to say, well, we've got clients who are buying, selling stocks, they're making money, so we're paying bro, it's all good. And they said, oh, no, we want to get more asset under management stuff. So we had a difference of opinion, and rather than hop up again and go to another firm, I actually went and did the homework myself, set up Endica with my wife, and got a financial services license, and we officially kicked off business in February 2006. And we've been running Endica ever since. So, you just sort of do what you do and go with the flow. And I got to say, running your own firm's much, much better than being under the thumb of someone else, because the buck stops literally with me. And I got to say, during the GFC, it wasn't pleasant at all. But I know a lot of friends of mine who were still at big broking firms felt it disastrous, because they were under so much pressure to keep performing when they couldn't, because markets wouldn't let that. Whereas I could say, oh, well, it's not good today. My overheads are low. I'll just, I can take the dogs for a walk. I'll go to the beach or whatever. And it's been great ever since.
Yeah. Nice one. So it's allowed you to live the full Goldie life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about. If you can do what you really enjoy doing, it's not really work, is it? From that point of view. So, and it's great. I mean, it's still one of the few jobs. That's what's interesting about crypto, just to put it into the conversation, because that's what we're about. ASX only trades Monday to Friday. You always get the weekend off. The stock market's never open on a weekend, yet the crypto exchanges are. Bitcoin will trade Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I've noticed sometimes on Sunday trade, it's, liquidity is a little bit lighter and the price moves around a lot more. But that's just, again, an example of the new world, where that's literally, 24/7 versus standard exchanges are still Monday to Friday from that point of view. Even currencies, stop essentially early Saturday morning Aussie time. And then, restart up very early on a Monday morning. But crypto doesn't seem to sleep. It seems to just keep on going. So that's another thing for people who are yet to get involved, need to be mindful about it. It does trade on your weekends. So try not to look at your phone too often.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I learnt that early. I know that's why, I know blockchain sort of technology in itself has been really, it's blown up a little bit recently, especially because of COVID, with, being able to trace things block to block, being able to trace data accurately, and, without having to rely on man hours so much. You can rely on just the fact that there's internet available, and so it's traceable, and it's, being put into the blockchain. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty exciting times, new world a little bit.
Well, the ASX, just on that note, at the moment we use a clearing system. It's called the CHESS system. That's, if you have your holdings, you have a holder identification number, and they're held electronically, with the exchange, and your stockbroker that you trade through is your sponsor. That's in a nutshell. They're moving to the blockchain. Not sure which one, but they're going on to it. I'm guessing it'll be something like an Ethereum, network, or Cardano, something like that. And that's, again, for the sheer basis that it'll be quicker and more secure for them to use. So, that there are very real world users for all this. Some people go, what's it really used for? But it's used every day, and it might not just be for financial things. It could also be, your title records for your property, and medical records, and a bunch of other things, IP for various things as well. I mean, it's quite frankly endless in that sense, but it's secure within the blockchain. So it's definitely going to be with us. Anyone who says it's not, well, they're reading the FUD that's, gets published everywhere to scare people away.
Stuck in the past,
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of ePocket, what have you found have been the best benefits of using it to make your trades, especially as you're trading professionally?
Oh, the main thing was that the whole app go through Woe works. So from the beginning, you obviously have to put your Aussie in there. You then convert your Aussie to US, because you need US to, trade said crypto. You then trade said crypto, namely, say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, because you've only really got the majors currently on the exchanges you use, which is fine, because, to be honest, if you had everything else on there, you'd probably find half your users would be trading in the garbage end. And if things are not very good, they get wiped out. They're no longer your clients. But so it forces you to just stick to the good stuff.
Yeah.
And then you realise, people go, oh, but Bitcoin, right now I'm seeing it's, just over 39,000 US, so that makes it just over 50,000 Aussie. And they think, oh, I can't afford 50,000 Aussie to buy one Bitcoin. No, you don't have to. You can go buy literally 0.001 of one Bitcoin and spend like $50. It's very, very, divided up. Yeah. And then that's how you can go into it. Same with Ethereum and same with some of the other ones that are there as well. So I've done all that sort of stuff. I've had that experience. And like I said earlier, I've ridden, luckily, Ethereum quite well, got out of that, was able to convert. And then I've just been, buying the dip on Bitcoin. But I've also had, profits converted back to US, obviously, and then through your app back to Aussie, back to set account. So I know everything from the beginning of putting money in to then taking it out all works. It's all seamless. Because some people probably get the wrong idea, and it's not necessarily just with ePocket, but general exchanges. It's like Hotel Californias; they're easy to check in, but hard to check out if you want to cash out and stuff. And your app's been very, very easy with it; it's no problem. And I gather over time, you'll improve other aspects with it as well, because as technologies come to it and all that sort of thing. So if there's one takeout, I can say to anyone listening in tonight and for people who get to watch this down the track, yes, you can get on there onto the ePocket app. You can put your Aussie in, it easily converts to US. You can buy said crypto. You can then trade said crypto when you decide. And if you then want, the US dollars that are in your ePocket account back to, Aussie in our case, very easy, goes back to your nominated account that you, put it on the app. And it's all very secure, all very robust. And, from a user point of view, that's what you want. You don't want to be stuffed around. And, other than that, I'd be making anything else up. But it did work when it has worked that smooth for myself. So at least I can put the testimonial of that, everything you need to do. And checking out, I think, is important because no one wants to get caught up and thinking, oh, but I can't get out of this. And doing the, the KYC, that's know your client. For those who don't know, that was a very easy process. You just got to, send across, your PDF copy of your driver's license along with a current utility bill, and you guys keep that on file. So, for people who think there's no regs in this space, there's plenty of regs. You've got those sort of things that you're governed by as well. So, it's pretty easy there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I sort of mentioned at the start with the API connectivity. That's the purpose of that. Like, we don't want to have people stuck with the crypto on our exchange or they can't do anything with it. Like, we want to let people be able to do whatever they want with their own money, whether that's trading it as crypto or if that's, they need it back in their bank account to pay for bills or to pay for rent that week or whatever. We're not here to stop people from doing that with their money. So, Andy, in your view, where do you see yourself with crypto in the next 5 years?
Oh, the next 5, well,
blow up for your sort of company, or?
It's such a big field. I mean, the first thing at the moment, just from a regulatory point, just here in Australia, of course, and it's probably like this in the US and in Great Britain and Canada, of course, but just with Australia at the moment, cryptos are not a financial product, so they're not regulated by ASIC. So there's those sort of uncertainties that are in there. And that doesn't mean crypto's bad or anything. It just means that people can apply a lot of that, that FUD, as we like to say, the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt. They love to pile in on all cryptos to talk it down and all that sort of thing. But sooner or later, I think ASIC's going to come in and have some sort of view on that as well, because people are trading it and that sort of thing. The thing that I like at the moment, though, and we just think back in the last couple of weeks, because you've seen Bitcoin and Ethereum, you've seen the whole crypto space go through a pretty solid correction. It's been really, really big. And if you look at the DeFi platforms that are trading, particularly, and that's on the Ethereum network, most of them, but they're the DeFi platforms, they were able to settle without any problems the meltdowns. They had margin calls, and for people who don't know what that means, they've bought their Bitcoin, but they've bought it on margin. The market falls, so they're getting a margin call. And what happens usually with the crypto providers, they don't ring you up like stockbrokers and go, "Hey, Kate, you're in a margin call. You reckon you could top up your account?" And you go, "Yeah, Andy, sure, I'll do it tomorrow." Okay. In the crypto space, you just closed out straight away. And that was able to happen without cumbersome, encroaching regulations like we currently have with like in the ASX. And that's a good sign. So it shows to me, what sells to me, that the space is working very well now, and it's only going to get better and better and better, of course. How to predict 5 years out, to be honest, who knows? I mean, in terms of pricing, it could be anything. Honestly, it could be. And I think the way to play it for people for an investment space, and this is what's also difficult. No, there's no advisors out there who go out and obviously recommend, because you're not covered under your insurance and all those sort of things. And I certainly don't go and tell people you must have this and must have that. But I do give my opinion on it. And I say to people, if you're okay to accept the volatility in the underlying asset, and meaning, it goes up and down the way it does, and obviously you're not using any leverage. I mean, if you buy Bitcoin with your own money, it doesn't really matter about leverage or what happens in the market. Sure, on paper you might be down, but you're not ever going to get closed out. You can just sit there and sit it out. And if anything, the recent correction's been good, because there were people who bought their Bitcoin, for example, they might have had half a coin. They go to some of these exchanges, they lodge it as collateral, and then they go and trade on Bitcoin calls predominantly, but they're at 100 times X. Now, great if the market goes up, you make a fortune, but obviously the market went down and they get obliterated. And then that said Bitcoin they bought is the collateral that gets instantly liquidated, and they come out of it thinking it's the worst thing in the world. But that was because they traded with such high leverage. Now, if you're someone, just as me, an example, who just bought some, and I go, all right, well, it's down. Okay, I'll just use it as the opportunity. I'll just buy the dip and buy a few more, because my view is measured in years. Unless something crazy comes along where the price goes insane, I just go, oh my God, this is just too good to be true. And you always be open-minded. But you got to remember also, again, with Bitcoin as an example, there's only ever going to be 21 million coins, ever mined. And the final one's apparently going to happen in 2140, because every 4 years we get the halving. And so at the moment, they can only mine 900 Bitcoins a day. But so there's just shy of 19 million in theory on issue. But if some people are suggesting there could be over 2 million just in lost accounts, meaning, like you said, with the guy who's got his cold storage in the tip somewhere, or someone has it on their own cold storage, but sadly they've passed away and their family don't know the password, so they can't access it. So already the supply of Bitcoin is reducing. And that's why it's really a store of wealth. They're not printing any more of it, and what gets mined is flowing its way through. And then, of course, Ethereum's going through a big patch in July. I forget the complete name of it, something E115, whatever it was. I don't pretend to be the inside and outs, but I understand they're going to make changes to how that's worked with regard to when the people mine it. And the Ethereum fees they get, they're going to get burnt, meaning it won't be an inflationary crypto, so its supply available will actually start to meander out. So therefore, in theory, supply and demand with constant demand but increasing supply, in theory, that means its price should also go up. And obviously, if its network is still attracting more and more participants to use it, and that's a usage thing, that's a good sign as well. And then, of course, that flows to all the others. There's a space for plenty of them. Then there's your meme coins, which, it's your Dogecoin, which, to be honest, the guys who invented it said they did it as a joke. It is a joke. Now, people have traded the said joke. Good on them, well done. Elon Musk has turned it into a celebrity thing and all that sort of stuff. If you are that type of person who can handle trading in that such an environment, and you have to be on the right end of the trade, good on you. I got no dramas with that, but I think people need to be realistic to know at the end of the day, it's real currency, or not currency, it's backing of what it really is nothing. It's a game, it's a joke. It's the TikTok generation buying into it because of whatever it is. Now, they could turn it into something. They could say, hey, we're going to use it, and maybe down the track, McDonald's will accept that coin to settle Big Macs. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys accept Dogecoin for their NBA tickets and a few other bits and pieces. But I think to use the word currency is also a bit of the wrong word to use. It's easy. I always call it crypto, like I don't go cryptocurrencies. Like Bitcoin, to me, is a store of wealth. And yes, you can use it to settle things if people want to do that. But the reality is, you people who buy it because they think in time it'll be worth a lot more, because the fiat money, which is your dollar, the US dollar, which is then our dollar, which is the pound, everything, we're all related, unfortunately, is worth less and less. And I'm not making that up. Anyone can Google this. I remember seeing a chart that $1 in 1930 could get you 6 beers. Today, that $1 would be lucky to get you a $1 coffee. So the purchasing power of the fiat currencies is dying. It's losing out. And if you are particularly a person who wants to be ahead in the future, well, your buying power is going to be weakened, and it's going to be even worse if there's inflation. $100 today is not going to have the same buying power in 10 years. And that's why, on a side note, I have issues with compulsory superannuation in this country, because to many young people in particular, spending that money they've got there today is a far better spend than saving it for the so-called 30 years, because that buying power of that money in 30 years will be completely and utterly diminished through both the loss in the fiat currency, our Aussie dollar, because we're attached to the US, and just inflation. Don't worry what the CPI guys say. It's rubbish. They don't count the right things. I can guarantee you price of power's going up. The price of your rates are going up. Fuel moves up and down. And general food, of course, goes up, fresh food and vegetables and all those sort of things. But, fun reason they put in the basket of CPI's television sets and toasters, which, doesn't really mean all that much. So I see people who are concerned about that will be driven to go to Bitcoin to own a little bit. I'm not saying you sell everything and put it in there. That's silly to do that. But it makes sense if you're prepared to go along with the volatility and you've got a bit of a time horizon and you understand these other forces that are currently in the marketplace. It makes sense to own a little bit, just as it makes a little bit of sense to own actually a little bit of gold and actually a little bit of silver as well, because, they're actual hard commodities. And then, of course, if you've got your stock portfolio, they're paper assets and that sort of thing. If you're in the right space, right space at the moment, for example, is the iron ore stocks. Price of iron ore is very high. They dig it out of the ground here, say for $30 a ton. They sell it for $200 a ton. They make 170. It's a margin game. And while that price stays high, they're swimming literally in cash. So as an example, as a sector, they're doing well. The banks at the moment are naturally doing well because they've had to, provision a lot for COVID. And of course, we've sort of recovered in that sense. Yes, you have Kate and Melbourne, got the lockdown again, but you're in the capital of lockdowns. But, the banks have got all these provisions they're going to send back to shareholders in due course. They're going to be back in fatter dividends and all that sort of stuff. But I just want people to understand the space is real. This is not a myth. These prices are there, and there are people who are getting in on it. And sure, Bitcoin's probably got a lot of whales there, and that's somebody who owns 100 or more. And we hear stories of people who own, 10,000 of them, and good luck to them. But you can still get in on the action. And if it's a sum of money you've got, you're happy to put it there, I would say, why not? What do you got to lose? Because if it actually flows through with everything they say, who knows what it could be in that 5-year time frame. And if you want to sort of hedge your bet a bit differently, Ethereum's there. That's the real applicator. In that sense, that's where a lot of big players are using it. I mean, Visa and MasterCard use it as well for, the settlement of their transactions. It's easy to Google who currently uses said network. I just think just be sensible with the big stuff. And if you really think you got to get into it trading it, well, then you need to be someone who's got experience in trading. And that should be someone who's already got experience trading the stock market and trading derivatives and understands those things. But for me, it would be buy it, hold it, just forget about it, and then surprise yourself every 3 months and go, oh, wow, look at it today. Well, that's pretty good. If I got any spare money, I'll just top it up a bit and dollar cost average. Because that's the way to look at it. I just think it makes just good sense in that. And again, look at the United States. They're at $28 trillion debt. That's a lot of debt, That's a 28 with 12 zeros. And President Biden's talking about another $6 trillion budget. Well, that's $6 trillion more on 28. That's 34. They're never going to get out of this. This is what people need to understand. They're not going to get out of it. And that's why they're going to keep interest rates as low as they can forever. And because if interest rates go up, that'll hurt them. But they do want inflation to get out there because that'll help, in terms of the bond yields and things. But then by default, we're over $1 trillion ourselves. It ain't going to be. We're not going to see. We're going to see deficits in this country probably for the next 10 years. That's just budget deficits. That meaning the taxes we bring in aren't going to match what we spend out. Japan right now is at 200 and something percent negative against its GDP. I mean, they're in a hole. They've been in a hole like that for nearly 30 years. Yes, the world keeps going on because that's just how it has to keep going on.
I think that's how sort of Bitcoin went on its last sort of. Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think that's why Bitcoin sort of went on its last bull run is when all the government handouts got announced in America and everyone started panicking about a massive inflation. And so, instead of just putting buying shares in gold, people just started buying shares in Bitcoin, which is sort of, dubbed as a digital gold, just as a sort of hedge against that inflation. And I think, that sort of brings us to our last question, but you kind of already answered it, is when do you think the next bull run will occur, and where do you think it will take the Bitcoin prices?
Yeah, this is again just be my opinion on it and all that sort of stuff. I'll just get this chart up that I've got here just to have a quick look. So just give me 1 second while I just throw a few things on here. I'll just add this moving average a little bit better. You can't see it, sorry, but I'll just sort of explain and all that sort of stuff. I'm just looking at Bitcoin now. Right now, the spot's 39,100 US. It's up $1,300 in its current session, so nearly 4%. And basically, I'm just looking at simple moving averages, and an average just irons out the price of the said asset. And just quickly, I've got a 50-day and a 200-day. And I'll just get rid of the MACD. We don't need to have that come up on my screen there. But the 50-day moving average right now on Bitcoin is 49,000. So it's got 10,000 to catch up. And whilst an asset, just ignore it's Bitcoin for the moment, when any asset is below its average, it's negative. When any asset's above its average, it's positive. So the thing we've got to keep watching here is as every day goes by where Bitcoin's not falling down and that, but it keeps just making incremental gains or even just going sideways a little bit, that's good, because sooner or later it'll meet up and kiss up with that average. It seems to be forming that. At the moment, we've got what I call a horizontal triangle. So what that means is instead of it being an ascending triangle going sort of up like that, meaning the slope of the triangle there is higher than the decline, and it's not a decline, it's literally like this, if that makes sense. So we're in this pattern right now. That means it could break out either way. But every day it keeps going for myself. It's just building up there. And I think the last couple of weeks we saw a very, very big washout. We had a lot of people who are highly leveraged washed out. And sure, I mean, if you own Bitcoin like I do, you saw your price go down. But it meant all those people that were so leveraged to the gills, they're out of the system. So then when the rebound comes in, that's coming back in, it'll be actually a lot more healthier for it as well. We're a long way off in terms of when the next halving's due and all that sort of stuff. So we don't have to worry about that, looking at that for the time being. One of the models that's used a lot, obviously, for Bitcoin's the stock to flow model. So currently, that's dipped out, of course. But if it was following the trend of the model, that would infer a price of around $80,000 right now. Now, the thing about the stock to flow model, and you don't have to take my word on this, you can Google it, it's got a pretty high correlation since they've been using it. So it's not 100%, nothing ever is, but it's pretty strong. So I take it at the moment it's pretty oversold, and if you were wanting to get in, it's probably not a bad time just to get in. Just get a small, manageable position, and just take it from there. But some of the other cryptos have done very well as well in terms of their rebounds. Like Ethereum, I see at the moment is around 2,864 US. I mean, about a week ago, I'm sure I saw it for about 1,911. So it's like $900 inside a week. So it's moved really well. Yeah. So and you can see what attracts that because it's a lower base. You can get more of them. It pops like that. Happy days. But even Ripple's back over $1, and heaven forbid, Dogecoin's 42.75. I mean, 2 days ago it was under 30. But I think with Bitcoin, the fact that its supply is restricted, as we touched on earlier, if you can get in and even say I own, I don't know, 1/10 of a coin, you own it. No one else can take it off you. It's yours. And I think, like we've seen already with it, we'll be pleasantly surprised in the years ahead with it. To put a price on it is a bit irresponsible because, to be honest, I can't, because I don't know what it will be. I can only look at certain models that are out there that can infer. But I just take the view that as time goes on, and what are the catalysts to make it move again also? Well, one day we will probably get an exchange-traded fund in the United States trading. And if that happens, that'll be a big catalyst. It could take other corporates to say they've got more, or they have Bitcoin now in their treasury. I last saw a website where around about 8% or just thereover of all the Bitcoin that's currently out there is currently held as treasury for various companies. Obviously, the big ones being MicroStrategy and then Tesla and other people. But if that seems to grow, that will put a bigger push on it as well. And it wouldn't surprise me that some countries will come out and start maybe saying, for our own sovereignty reserve, we've now taken a small position of whatever. And then people go, oh, my God, really? Okay. Those three factors could happen as well. Now, I can't say they're going to happen tomorrow, but just recall when Tesla came out and said what they did, it changed everything. Everyone, wow, that makes sense. Why they do it. And the reasoning, again, was what I said earlier. If you're holding cash, in a year's time, that cash's buying power is worth less, simply just from the fact of the devaluation of the dollar. Then if inflation's in there as well, it's even worse. So if you want to hedge against that, and, yes, you can get gold, but the problem with gold is if it's in the markets, you're trading the paper price, and that's dominated a lot in futures trade. It's manipulated like you wouldn't believe. If you want to get it physically, yes, you can, but then you own it. Then you're going to make sure no one comes to your house and nicks it or anything else. It's heavy, all these other things. It's not like exactly you can then walk down the road to a bullet, well, unless there is a bullion exchange, they'll exchange it for you, but it's not anything liquid in that sense. Because it is a store of value and all that sort of stuff, but you've got all these costs associated with it. Silver, you can buy silver, but just on that, there is disconnects. If you went to a local bulletin gold or silver dealer today and said, I want to buy some silver coins, you'll be paying probably double the spot price because you can't get it. But on the stock market, where it trades through exchange-traded funds, it's so manipulated. It's there. Bitcoin can't happen. The exchange is what it is. Now, institutions want to get their hands on it because they want to create a derivatives market out of it too, and that's where they see a lot of it. And that's why you're starting to also see the JP Morgans of the world, all the bigger banks. There's Goldman Sachs, I think it was a year ago, 2 years ago, rubbished Bitcoin, said it's garbage, we're not going to do it. And now they've set up a trading desk. Well, that's a big reversal. I mean, what happened? They woke up. Now, what they really woke up was they said very wealthy clients where, listen, Goldmans, if you don't let me trade with you, I'll go to this mob called Coinbase and buy through them. Oh, no, we don't want that to happen. So they now have to acknowledge the fact reluctantly, and they're getting into it as well. And the demand. So that's the thing. There's a lot of these factors, and they're just out there. But the asset comes under a lot of flow, news, FUD, as I said, fear, uncertainty, doubt. Take the story about, China cracking down. Well, that was first released, and this is my recent readings, back in 2013, but it seems to get reused every year. And then there's the energy usage. They say Bitcoin's worth more energy consumption than entire countries and all this stuff. Well, it might have energy. No one's saying it doesn't, but has anyone bothered to compare it to the current banking system? The current banking system, in terms of its energy, makes Bitcoin look like, one little candle being lit. It's nothing. I mean, but if you have a media who's pushing out those stories, it's a good way to, push the price down. And if people don't understand, and then they panic and then they sell. And if you look at some of the metrics on some of the good websites, Glassnode's one of them, they sort of can work out with the addresses. They can see that it's people who are hodlers or they're, bigger holders who have been buying into the dip and they're not selling. And the guys who are selling are people that recently bought in the last, say, 90 days. In other words, they bought up thinking it was going to go beyond 60,000. It didn't. It fell. They panicked. They sold. And they've been cleaned out.
And then they'll have FOMO,
it is. And that's just how these things happen. And there are patterns in that as well. So, I think the space is just going to get even more and more exciting. I wouldn't be worried about regulations and that sort of stuff. It's decentralized. I mean, you already pay tax on it anyway. The ATO says, listen, if you've made a profit out of your Bitcoin, just declare it and you pay it like any other tax, as in capital gains. They're not worried. So any of this other nonsense, it's going to get specially taxed and treated different. That's absolutely rubbish. It's not. But it's hard to get that message across to a lot of people. So again, my suggestion is, if you want to get into the space, get into the space with the sum of money you're comfortable, putting into it. Don't bet the whole house in it, and just hold on to it. And if it does a good run like Ethereum did, went from 1900 now to 28, and you think that's a good price and you want to cash out, well, great for you, cash out. If you think, hang on, I want Bitcoin to be in my portfolio and I want it there because I think in 5 years' time, the state of debt around the world is going to be even worse than what it is, I'm just concerned. I want something to be a complete and utter offset to everything else, then hang on to it. And you at least got it. And then you can say you're one in 1 in 21 million. That's the other thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. It's got, in theory, 21 million. The reality is there'll probably only ever be 19 because, like I said, there's at least 2 million of the stuff that's lost. So I just have to think with supply and simple demand, it's going to have to push the price up. And the network that Bitcoin runs is very, very good. It might do a computation every 10 minutes, but that was designed on purpose to do it that way. It wasn't meant to say everything else. It was designed to ensure that the computations were done on that frequency, but the security of the blockchain was paramount. And that's why it is the gold in that sense there. I would encourage people to, do their own research, get onto YouTube, look up some, the better presenters that are on YouTube. I can share names if you want names, but I find you learn out who the good guys are versus the shrills and the scammers on YouTube pretty quick who come up and stuff, and just build up your own knowledge base and be prepared to just think for yourself on it. Don't get caught up by other people who will say, oh, you're crazy for doing this. If you generally feel that it's something you should be doing, then do it. Just be sensible about it. And for whatever you do, don't leverage any of it. Don't get caught up and, buy it on 10x and then 20x and then find out there's a correction and you get wiped out. Just own it with your money. Don't worry, any corrections mean nothing. It's just forget about it. And if anyone's been trading the stock market, you'll know that's happened too. I remember when Commonwealth Bank fell all the way down to $25, and those who were brave enough in the middle of the GC who bought it, then had it run all the way back up to 100. And when it was back up at 100, it was paying out like $5 in dividends. So even if you kept it from that cost price of 25, you're getting $5 in dividend. That's 20% annual return just on cash flow, let alone the capital gain. So things recover. You've only got to look at that if they're quality. That's the crypto. Quality recovers. That's why I just keep away from Dogecoin, because that to me is rubbish. If that tanks out, it'll tank out. It only gets a tweet from Elon and then it maybe pushes back up. But at least Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, and a few others I could rattle on. But, they're the ones that just have backbone literally behind them. So if that's where I could, that's all I can really say in that regard there. It's a lot of fun. And the ePocket app's very effective. It works very well, as we said earlier. I'd encourage people, if they want to support an Aussie company, use it. And obviously, the more people that do, that's better for ePocket. It means then, they'll get their said revenue in. It means they can make more improvements to their platform and everyone will be winners from it from that respect there. And it literally is great and secure. You got my recommendation there. And very easy to open. It's literally click here, fill in our form online, supply some KYC, and then bingo, you're ready to go. And it's a testament to how well you guys have done. And I'm just waiting for the news down the track on what's happening with the ePocket token, because I know there's some plans for that, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. We've been working hard on that. The plans.
Well, I won't steal your thunder, Kate.
And the remittance. No, that's okay. And the remittance, they're sort of been our biggest things coming up, but they're definitely in the sort of watch now space. And we'll be keeping everyone sort of updated on them by email, via WhatsApp. It's pretty exciting times. A lot going on. At the moment, our the exchange is really just, we're getting everyone on there and we're just trying to try to refine what needs refining. So if anyone has any feedback or has any suggestions for it, shoot them through. And our research and development team is always working around the clock to try to implement these changes and make it as user friendly as possible for everyone. So Yeah. But thank you for coming tonight, Andy, and
No worries.
having
Thank
a
you for
chat
having
about
me.
your
Go.
experience. Yeah, with the
We'll
not
do it
just
again
the
sometime.
crypto space. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
Yeah, we'll
see
have
if
to get you on
see
more
if the
often.
predictions are any good.
I know. Yeah, if they're not, you'll
Oh
be
well.
finished.
No worries. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I
Thanks everyone for coming in too.
yeah. I'll send everyone the recording. It will be available on YouTube, but I'll
Yep.
send that out through email as well. But yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks Andy. I'll be in touch.
Good as gold. All right. Good night, everybody. Take it
Good night,
easy.
everyone.